Hey there, I'm Vanessa. I'm a pediatrician and a stay at home mom for over 20 years, and I'm here to help you get honest about the overwhelm that is motherhood, be intentional about your approach to mothering your children, and to give you some practical tips to help you along the way. And today, I want to talk about something that is really probably on your mind, it's certainly on mine, and that is how to help our children navigate the world the way it is without falling into pits of anxiety, pits of depression, um, that whole mental health swamp, negative swamp. And um, I have I have multiple reasons for having this concern. One, my own history with depression, but two, hello, social media. For all that it's good, for all the ways that it's beneficial, it is a key component in all of our playing into all of our insecurities of any age. If you're on it long enough and you rely on it enough for your sense of self, even if you don't look at it for that, at some point you begin to compare. And human nature is to compare, with you being on the short end of the stick, thinking that someone else is better off or has more or is just a better person than you are. And sitting in that mentality long enough can for sure be the reason for the rise in anxiety and depression in our children. And so then you're wondering what I'm wondering, like, what do we do about that? And I'll pose the answer coming at it this way. There's this guy named David, and he wrote this song about how there's a shepherd who has the sheep, and he takes great care of it. He feeds it the best, makes sure it has the best drinking sources. He's nurturing towards the sheep. He leads the sheep, right? The sheep can just follow this shepherd and not worry about where is he taking me. He leads him on the best paths. But then, because life is life, this sheep ends up going through this valley, this valley that feels like it'll be the death of him. There's all kinds of predators there, and he is afraid. But the sheep remains calm because the shepherd is still there. The same shepherd who feeds him well, makes sure he has the best drinking sources, leads him, nurtures him, is still with him in this situation, in this scenario that feels very threatening, very overwhelming, very scary. And the two reasons that this sheep can be confident that they will go through this situation is because the shepherd has a rod. He has something that will, if anything comes to attack the sheep, he is prepared to beat the mess out of that thing. And he has a staff. The staff is how he leads the sheep. And if the sheep gets himself in a bind, in a tight spot, he'll just use that staff to sort of help pull him out of the bad situation. He always had that rod and that staff. And so now that the sheep is in this precarious situation, he is like, okay, this is where this rod, this staff is really going to come into play. And so that's what keeps him at peace. If you're enjoying the content, this would be a great time to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Okay, let's get back to the video. And when I think about our children, I think about the fact that we're going to do our best to make sure they have everything that they need. I encourage you, and what I do on this channel is encourage moms to be leaders in their homes, to lead their children in the best paths that are for them, with the idea, with the intention that when they are adults, all of those things that you poured into them, all of those ways that you taught them, all of those ways that you exampled for them will be things that come up when needed. And they'll be like, oh yeah, mom taught me this. And oh yeah, I saw mom do this. Maybe this is the time that I should do that. Even when they give you a lot of pushback, there comes a time where they pull on whatever it is that you deposited. So, you've been doing that. You've been pouring in the good stuff. And if you haven't, listen to other videos on my channel and I'll encourage you in how to do that. But there's going to come a point where you can't save them from everything. They're going to have experiences that will really challenge them, will really push them. You won't be there. You won't be there to prevent it. You just won't. You can't prevent your own valleys. So they'll go through their valleys, and it may feel overwhelming to them for a time. A measure of anxiety is normal. The issue is living there. But there's a type of anxiety when you come into a new situation and you're like, oh, I need to pay attention. This is not my norm, and this is not healthy, or this is not comfortable, or this is not what I want. And I need to pay attention and figure out how to get out of here. There's that. Um, and when they have those situations, the number one thing for us to do is what that shepherd does, is to be present, is to be with them, is for them to know that even though I'm going through this thing that is very comfortable and daggone near threatening to me, I'm not in it by myself. My mom is always there. She's always there for me to talk to. She's a great listener. Even if she doesn't have a solution at the time, her presence is comforting. There's a comfort in that she is in it with me. There's a comfort in that she can contain what I'm saying. She can empathize with my feelings. She's going to take the time to hear me, and she's walking through it with me. It's comforting. That goes a long way, because here's the thing, they're going through this valley. It's not that they're going to stay there. And a lot of how our children respond to a situation is based on how we respond. If we have that the sky is falling thing, and oh my gosh, this is terrible, then they're like, oh my gosh, this is terrible, and what is happening to me? And if you're like, oh my goodness, you're going to be in this forever, then they're like, oh, I'm going to be in this forever. So a lot of it is coming to them in those situations and reminding them you have also had those situations. And hey, guess what? Mom is still here. And she's here for you and yours. And so I'm going to walk this thing out with you, and we'll get through it together. So there's a comfort in that. Um, and then the other thing you do is you have these couple of tools, right? You're present, but then you have some tools that you make available. Now, I'm a believer. I'm a believer in Jesus Christ. So my rod, the thing that I will beat back anything that I feel is really coming from my kids, is prayer. Honey, I will pray. It's nothing fancy sometimes. Sometimes it's just from the gut. It's just it's just how I feel it, and I say it how I feel it, and I say it to the Lord, trusting that He has heard me, that He cares about my kids more than I do, and that He's on the case. But the things that concern me, concerning my kids, I pray about them. Things that I feel are threatening my children, I pray about the removal of those things. That whatever these schemes and plans are, that whomever or whatever is forming, that they will not function as intended. Prayer is powerful. So that's my rod. You got to figure out for you what's your rod. What's your thing that you will employ for the things that you feel like are overwhelming. A rod could be helping your children set boundaries. I do that as well. Helping them recognize that that thing over there is threatening, and getting through this valley is challenging enough. Entertaining that also might put you over the edge. So let's create a boundary, and let's just agree that for the next period of time, we're going to leave that alone, because that's not serving you. Um, an example for me will be music. There are certain types of music that if you're already feeling low, you don't need to be listening to sad songs. Because what are we doing? We are just increasing and wallowing in and accentuating the feeling we're already feeling. And so, it's not that you want to play pop music per se, but you want to play something neutral, or something that is inspirational or inspiring, um, because you're trying to even yourself out, right? So if my child is already feeling low, and I see that she's listening to like all these sad songs, I'm like, well, turn that off. Let's for right now. I know you like those songs, and when you're in a different mood, this song doesn't seem to affect you. But right now, this song will not help you. So let's just table that for right now. So those are the kinds of things you can use that can be rods, if you will, that will help keep at bay whatever you feel like is harmful, threatening, or will add fuel to the fire that is already overwhelming to them, which is feelings of anxiety or feelings of depression. But for me, um, the number one thing, or the thing I end up going to if ever I get confused and start trying other stuff, I end up back at prayer, because prayer is just that powerful. So then, what would the staff be? The staff would just be some of our own personal experience. What was it like for you when you were um, during their time of life, when you were their age and you had similar experiences? Very different world that we're living in now, but the more things change, the more they stay the same. The wrapping is different, and the ease of accessibility is different, but it's the same devils we're fighting. So, when you had a similar experience, what did you do? How did you get through it? Or if you don't like what you did, what would you do differently? And how do you think, and how would you recommend, what do you recommend that they should consider now? Wisdom. Wisdom is a great staff, a great way to pull someone out of a jam that they've gotten into. Share with them your wisdom. Share with them your wisdom. This is not the time to come across as the mom who has never had problems. This is the time to empathize to the point of being vulnerable and letting them peek, behind the curtain into your life and your history, and so that they know that, oh yeah, actually mom was my age once. For all the grief that I give her thinking that she doesn't understand and she doesn't know what I'm talking about and she's, whatever, whatever, she actually does know. And um, what she's saying actually makes sense. And so that's what I would encourage you with, is instead of getting anxious about the thought of our children having anxiety, first recognize if you already have a problem with anxiety and with depression, and address that, because you can't help anybody else when you're drowning in your own situation. But then with that under control, don't now spend time being anxious about what might happen with them. Be intentional about the relationship that you have with them. Do they know and believe that you are a safe person who genuinely wants their best, so that when they're going through a trying time, they will bring it to you so that you can walk with them through it, so that you can be praying, so that you can be helping them think through what kind of boundaries to add to their life, so that you can share your insights from your past experiences and the things that you've learned? Yeah. Um, and before they even get to those valleys, just be intentional about how you show up. Be intentional about how you show up. So, yeah, life happens to everyone. There's no real way to keep them from being anxious or depressed. But I tell you what, and I know this is not going to make you popular in your house or make you popular amongst your friends, but you really should consider limiting the amount of time they spend on social media sites that really are designed, if you really think about it, to maximize insecurity. They are designed to feed you the lives of other people, really, the snapshots of curated lives of other people, so that you could obsess about them. And while you're scrolling and obsessing, you're thinking about how you compare to them, and you're making judgments about yourself. You're either judging them, or you're judging yourself, or you're judging everybody. It is not the healthiest environment. And so giving them carte blanche access and time is just not healthy for them. It's not healthy for you. So limit that. Limit the time that they spend feeding on information that only amplifies insecurities, and let them spend that time instead developing their own gifts, their own talents, their own interests. Help them to become deep people, so that they're not feeding on the shallowness of other people. Help them become deep. Deep people are not easily shaken. Deep people have things to live for, they have purpose, and they work toward them. And therefore, their time on social media is just brief, forays of entertainment. It's not like their lifeline. So, in terms of prevention, that's what I would suggest, that the boundary you give them is limit the amount of time they're spending on social media. No, they will not like it. Your concern is not their immediate happiness. Your concern is their long term health. Your concern is their long term quality of life, how they will ultimately be happy as adults. You're investing in that. And on the way, they'll be disappointed, the same way you were disappointed as a child and you lived. Um, it's not taking it away from them, it's just limiting the amount of time and encouraging them to develop and discover who they are and enjoy who they are before they're spending so much time comparing what little they know of themselves to people who are presenting themselves as totally put together and having it all figured out, which is not true either. But they don't know that. So if you help them be intentional about their own development, about how they spend their own time, it makes all of this angst and opportunity for them to be down on themselves and to be really nervous about whether or not they rate compared to other people, whether they matter, whether they're important. Um, it really leaves to like very little time to entertain that. And so they'll just be healthier overall. And so I'm sure that helps. I hope that helped. If you enjoyed the video, I'd love to know in the comments what stood out to you. And if you feel like it gave you a lot of value, go ahead and hit subscribe so that you don't miss when I post another video. And please remember, until next time, when it comes to you being the mother of your children, you are the woman for the job. Take care.